Welcome once again, everybody, to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm Aaron Blocks with my co-host, Mr. Matthew Balzer. Today is Wednesday, December the 5th, and man, we've got another jam-packed show for you. Let's start off with the NHL announcement yesterday finalizing the new Seattle Kraken or Metropolitan or what do you think the new team's going to be called, and how excited are you that there's another team in the NHL?
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited, especially with us over here in British Columbia, to have a team so close. It's just like we're sort of like on that West Coast. So like, sure, you got the rivalries with Calgary and Edmonton, but geographically, to have a team in Seattle that really works here. But I think the Totems are up there. But yeah, listening to the TSN 1040 this morning, I heard the Krakens being brought up. So I think that'd be pretty funny if they got called that. But yeah, the 2021-22 season, they'll be in the NHL. I think they would have been in next season if they didn't have all the renovations for the rink that they had to do. But yeah, same draft rules as Vegas. They'll get a player from every single team besides Vegas. Vegas is excluded from the expansion draft. And also the division realignments. Seattle will be in the Pacific, and the Arizona Coyotes will move over to the Central Division, which they aren't too happy about. But with Seattle being on the West Coast here, you have to get them
in. It makes the most sense to do it that way. I'm excited about it. I know the mayor of Seattle, as well as some local governors, have already tweeted out that they're going to beat Vancouver. They're starting the trash talk already. It's a natural rivalry. It's somewhere where we can drive within a few hours, rather than Calgary or Edmonton's a good 8-10 hour drive on a good day. Whereas Seattle's only a couple hours away. I like the Kraken is the word that I heard when they first announced that Seattle might be getting a team. I know there's I've liked that ever since, but I know there's over 34,000 people on a wait list that have come forward and put a deposit down for season tickets. And the Key Arena, they've been talking about renovations, but I also heard today they put the shovel in the ground, as it sounds like they're going to be building a brand new arena, and that's one of the reasons why it won't be till 21, 22. It's funny because I look at the rosters and you start to wonder, okay, who's going to be left exposed, but it's 3 years away, so it's almost impossible to look at that, because you look at it from a Canucks perspective. In 3 years from now, Pettersson, Besser, Horvat, they're not going to be exempt like they would be if it was this year or next year. These are guys that they're going to have to protect. So it'll be, and I know every team's in that same boat, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. Color-wise, do you think they're going to be the same as the Seahawks and the Sounders and all those teams? Do you think, as a city, I have a feeling they're going to keep the colors the same?
Yeah, sort of like the blue-green color, sort of, because like you got the Seattle Thunderbirds there in the WHL. I think somewhere those color schemes. I go with that, but yeah, I think either I'm hoping the Kraken ends up being it, but I think right now the Totems, I believe, are the favorite going right now. But maybe some fan support, and if they do let the fans choose the team name, then you got some good hopes there.
Do they raise the Metropolitan banner to the stadium ceiling on opening night from their last Stanley Cup win 100 years ago?
Oh man!
Just to rub it in Vancouver's face.
That's a good poll there. Well, maybe we can bring up the Vancouver Millionaires.
Well, what about a vintage game between the Millionaires and the Seattle Metropolitan jerseys? How awesome would that be?
I'd be down for that, though. The Canucks haven't had the best of luck wearing those jerseys. I don't even think they won a game wearing those jerseys. But those jerseys did look sick when they did wear them, though.
Maybe they'll bring out the old skate jerseys. Arizona, you said they're not too happy about it. From a logistics point of view, I think that was the best choice. And with the NHL, I think still owning part of that team, I don't think they really have a choice. I mean, hockey's already hurting there, but Arizona moving, they're going to be a natural rivalry. I'd say that 10 times fast.
Don't worry, I do.
It'll be a good rivalry with guys like Colorado and Dallas, because I know they're very familiar with Dallas from when we had the 5 team divisions. Dallas, of course, was part of that division with Anaheim, San Jose, and LA, and Arizona. So interesting to see. But let's move on. Everybody's excited about Seattle. But let's talk about a couple of trades, or I know there's at least one trade we want to talk on specifically. Toronto gets William Nylander back. We talked about Nylander last show. Frees up somebody that Toronto wanted to move. They end up trading Josh Leivo to Vancouver, our favorite team, for Michael Carcone. And we finally got to see Leivo play last night. They put him on a line with Bessier and Pedersen, and second shift of the night, first shot, he buried it. Is Leivo going to be a pretty regular offensive contributor?
Yeah, I think I'd like to see him in the top 6. I know his skating isn't like his strong suit, but whenever I've seen him, his shot's been really, really strong. So if you're playing with a guy like Pedersen who can get you the puck, if you get in that right spot, and we saw his release on his goal going post and in, I like to see him get a regular shot in this top 6. But yeah, it sort of goes into that thing. If there's any younger players out there, and you don't have to give up draft picks, or you can pick them up off waivers, put them in an offensive spot and just let them go and see what you got, and hopefully something works. And so far, Leivo had a pretty good first game on that line. So hopefully he can continue to find success on that line. And hopefully he doesn't get scratched like Nikolai Kudobin last night.
Yeah, that was a bit of a head shaker. Despite Carcone not really being in the top 15 prospect pool of the Canucks, one of their top prospects did get traded yesterday. I don't know if you saw, but Michael DiPietro was moved for a few draft picks and a player, giving him some spotlight now for another Memorial Cup run with the new team. So I don't know if you have those details, but if you do, why don't you share them with us?
Yeah, so I don't have all the draft picks, but he was traded to the Ottawa 67s. So he'll be their starting goalie once when all the World Junior camp and the tournament's gone. But DiPietro so far in 21 games has gone 11-8-1, a .920 save percentage, 1 shutout, and a 2.32 goals against average. He should be Canada's starting goaltender at this year's World Juniors. We saw that he was the third stringer at the World Championships this past spring, which was a really good learning experience, being around all those big NHL guys like Connor McDavid to top those things off. Also, for other World Junior Canuck prospects, Quinn Hughes and Tyler Madden were invited to the United States camp, and Tony Uutinen was invited to the Finnish World Juniors camp as well. So Madden it has a bit more of an outside shot, but he's had a really good year at Northeastern, where Adam Gaudette played last season. I think he's averaging just under a point a game so far this year. So he has a bit more of an outside shot, but at least he got the choice. And Quinn Hughes, I think, could be a favorite to be the captain of the United States World Junior team this year.
All right, let's steer it back to the NHL now. Calgary Flames, Columbus Blue Jackets yesterday, 9-6 Calgary win. Coach's nightmare. Goaltender's nightmare, as all 4 goalies made an appearance. You have a crazy stat about the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, so the Calgary Flames so far this year, they've had 4 games where they've scored 5 goals in only 1 period this season. So 4 times. The rest of the entire NHL has only done it 3 times. So that's some crazy stats there. And they did it in back-to-back games as well against the Jets. And I forget the other team off the top of my head that they did it against. But yeah, their offense this year has been crazy good, especially in that third period. I believe they're still the highest scoring team in the third period this year. But yeah, that top line of Gaudreau, Monahan, and Lindholm combined for 5 goals and 10 points. And then you throw in Matthew Tkachuk, who had another 3 points in there. It was old-time hockey right there from the 80s. So unfortunately, my fantasy team took a hit with Bobrovsky in net because Tortorella would not pull him. But yeah, for other people, it was a very exciting game.
Bobrovsky might take a hit in the pocketbook too when it comes to signing a new contract after a game like that. Vegas, Washington yesterday, very entertaining game. Tom Wilson and Ryan Reeves at each other's faces all night long, running each other. Ovechkin took a few healthy runs at Reeves. Reeves finally popped them one, got a 5-minute major and a game misconduct. There's not going to be any further suspension or anything on it, but Ryan Reeves, quote, "That's what happens when you run into a lion in the jungle." Just good old-time hockey there, or what were your opinion on what happened there?
Well, all the hits were good until that final one where he got kicked out. It was a late blindside hit, but it wasn't a headshot, as it was only I believe a major for interference on that hit. So I'm not surprised, and that with the league having to deal with Tom Wilson and all those suspensions, I think this is just sort of also just like a nudge. Yeah, we won't suspend Reeves just because we've had to deal with this guy. Maybe it's a wake-up call for him. But before that, both of those guys were going back and forth, laying some major hits on each other. So it was a really good physical game. So I'm not really surprised at all that Reeves didn't get anything.
I know Ryan Reeves also scored a power play goal and helping lead Vegas over Washington. So sticking with Washington, Alex Ovechkin reached another milestone.
Yeah, so for the 14th straight season, Ovechkin's scored 20 goals in a season. The lowest he's had is 32 in a season, and one of those was that lockout-shortened year where he only had 48 games. So, but 14 straight seasons with 20-plus goals. He's only the 8th player in NHL history to do so. The other 7 are Maurice Richard, Marcel Dion, Mike Gardner, Michael Goulet.
Goulet.
Yeah, there we go. Brett Hall, Jaromir Jagr, and Matt Sundin are the only other players to do it. So some very impressive names, and hopefully he'll get up to 30 with the health. And right now he's right back in it for the Maurice Richard. Only one goal back of Patrick Laine, who has 21 this season.
Florida beat Boston 5-0, and goaltender Roberto Luongo, a.k.a. Bobby Lou, with another shutout coming off of an injury, reaching another milestone there. Why don't you fill us in on that, as well as give us an update on some of the recent injuries?
Yeah, so Roberto Luongo recorded his 77th career shutout, which is crazy. I think next up on the list is not Ed Belfour, he passed him. Dominic Hasek at 81 shutouts is the next guy on the list to catch. So very, very impressive numbers as he'll have to get a few more to catch the Dominator, which might be hard with his age and his injury troubles. But yeah, to go around the league with some injuries, the Detroit Red Wings got hit with Anthony Mantha and Danny DeKeyser both out 4 to 6 weeks with hand injuries. And outside, and more guys returning from injuries. Martin Hanzal looks like he'll make his debut this season, this Friday. He's had those major back problems, and hopefully he can stay healthy and finish out the season. Some other guys that returned from injury: Tyson Barrie, missing a few games with a lower body injury, scored a goal against the Penguins last night. Timo Meier is back in the lineup tonight after dealing with a concussion. The Buffalo Sabres got Connor Sheary back, but they lost Jake McCabe as he went on IR today as well. And Connor McDavid, after missing last game with illness, is playing tonight against the St. Louis Blues. And lastly, Noah Juleson with the Montreal Canadiens. After taking a couple pucks to the face, he was back at practice wearing a full cage and is just waiting medical clearance, but he should be back in the lineup sooner rather than later.
You touched on one of my favorite goalies growing up, Dominic Hasek. Imagine what his numbers would be like if he started in the NHL younger. I don't think he made his debut till he was 27, 28, 29, something like that. I don't have that stat in front of me, but I know it was, he was from the old Czechoslovakia,
Mm.
and he was already 24, 25 in the 87 Canada Cup, if I'm not mistaken, and a world-class goaltender then. And then he made his debut with Chicago in 1990. So I can only imagine if he was, 20, 21 years old playing in the NHL, what his numbers and stats would have looked like. So,
Mm.
but you also got to remember when he came over, he was a backup for many years to Ed Belfour and then a backup to Grant Fuhr in Buffalo before finally taking over the starting position. So maybe he's like a fine wine and just got better with age.
Oh,
Why don't you wrap us up with the final word?
all right, yeah. So you can follow us on Facebook at B&B Hockey Talk. We post all the highlights, all the goals, the big saves and big hits of the night, and every once in a while a couple fights. But yeah, you can follow us there. There's only 3 games tonight, with as aforementioned Edmonton versus St. Louis, and 2 late games: Chicago versus Anaheim and Carolina versus San Jose. And we'll be back on Friday with our next show.
Sounds good. You can also subscribe on YouTube, but only the highlights are on our Facebook page, so look for us there as well. That's also under B&B Hockey Talk. For Aaron Bloxel and Matt Balzer, wishing you a good rest of your Wednesday evening. And like Matt said, we'll be back on Friday. Have a great night.